Ladies, gentlemen, and Spiritborn of all ages, the developer stream with the preview of the mid-season patch wrapped up earlier, and one of the biggest questions going into it on a consistent basis was very simply, what is going to happen to Spiritborn as a class? Will it be left alone for the rest of the season? Will it get all the insane bugs tackled and removed, lowering the overall damage of the class by a sheerly ridiculous amount? Or, of course, the third option, will it be somewhere in the middle? Well, we now know the answers. Let's break it down and talk about all the changes that are coming to the class, what it realistically means for the builds most people are already using, and how the class as a whole is going to look for the rest of the season, and possibly even moving into Season 7. First, the big one, there are no nerfs coming to Spiritborn until next season. No major bug fixes happening in the mid-season patch that will negatively affect the output of Spiritborn, and there are no plans to change that unless something pops up that is negatively impacting performance in open world content for other players, which is the general sort of disclaimer they give when talking about balance. So, Quill Volley builds and every other build that is doing very well right now for Spiritborn will still be doing exactly what it's doing for the rest of the season, if not even a little bit better, but we'll talk about that in a moment. In my opinion, this decision directly puts the emotions of the players above the literal healthiest choice for the game, and while this may make Spiritborn a little rockier in Season 7 than it could have been, it is a choice that focuses on player enjoyment and happiness above all else, so I do respect that reasoning behind it. That said, what I find especially interesting is that they have chosen to apply buffs to every class other than Spiritborn, but then also give it at least a couple of buffs to Spiritborn itself, and before people get uppity about that, let's specify that these buffs are very specifically targeted on skills that are very underused currently. Things that have potential to be the basis of interesting or fun builds for the class, but have no current active place in any of the overly bugged, ridiculously strong things that are at the top of the sort of Spiritborn pile. These are very specifically aimed at increasing these things that are currently weak without further boosting the things that are nuts at the moment already. To be a bit more specific, the one that I am by far the most excited for is changes for Razor Wings, both increasing the damage of the skill by 50% from what it was before, meaning that it goes up from 50% weapon damage to 75%, which is honestly a very big amount, and arguably somehow even more importantly than that, they have also removed the forced internal cooldown between Razor Wings casts. This means that you'll be able to spam them out notably faster than you could before, making Razor Wings a far burstier skill, especially with high attack speed. Razor Wings as a focus was my favorite build that I played back at the initial Spiritborn reveal event that I was a part of months and months ago, and they did nerf that to hell before launch of the actual expansion itself. Razor Wings was still usable up to this point, but just nowhere close to comparable to things like core skills with the Rod of Kapaleke, so it sort of fell behind. This will be a really big shift to make Razor Wings a lot stronger than it was before, and personally I'm honestly really excited to make a proper Razor Wings build for the patch and see how it does with these changes, as it's one of the more interesting and unique playstyles that the class has available. The only truly limiting factor now with the skill is that only 12 projectiles can exist from it at the same time, so the faster cast speed you have may actually end up being sort of irrelevant in the end because it will remove existing Razor Wings before they disappear. But we'll have to test that when the patch is applied to actually find out for sure. Outside of this, a couple of more interesting sort of supporting skills were changed as well. Withering Fist, the Centipede basic, had its poison and slow increased, as well as the amount of targets spread from Sharp Withering Fist as well. Basic skill builds exist for the class, and within these, Withering Fist was notably the weakest of them, but even so, I feel like more changes are likely needed to make it worth using as the focus of a build. On a similar note, we have Toxic Skin, and this is mostly used in Thorns builds for the class simply for the enhancement that makes poisoned enemies passively take more damage from Thorns, as that is obviously a very strong natural synergy, but they have buffed the skill itself and its damage, not only on the base skill and its passive damage, but also the enhancement's bonus damage and measured Toxic Skin as well, with the intention clearly of just trying to make poison builds in general a bit stronger for Spiritborn, given the current oversaturation of crit and overpower based builds for the class going on up to this point of Season 6. Overall, there may be just more changes than this when the patch notes are properly released that are positive for the class, and if that does happen, I will of course talk about them when we find out. But given these are the sort of highlights that they chose to show us at this stream, Razor Wings is very big and meaningful. I am excited to see that change. Withering Fist and Toxic Skin are still good changes, but definitely less build-defining power increases, at least in my opinion. Past that, now we know that the bugs of Spiritborn aren't going to be fixed at all until Season 7. I thought it would sort of just be a good moment to just explicitly go through the different bugs that currently exist for the class. They will stick around until Season 7, so if you are playing the class, which 62% of people playing Diablo 4 apparently are doing this season, then you may as well use the bugs that exist, even if you are just using them to make an otherwise weak skill strong, because that's honestly a really fun way to take advantage of the situation while it's there. The big major one then is Viscous Shield as a paragon node. This is supposed to increase your damage by 33.3% 50% at maximum if you have 100% of your maximum life as a barrier. But they accidentally coded this one to work by base life instead of maximum life. So base life at level 60 is 400. So if you threw max life bonuses, you end up with something like 20,000 maximum life, because that's the general area the really tippity top Spiritborn builds reach with masterwork and greater affixes and stuff. And that's not even counting the resilient passive, which increases your maximum life even further in combat. And so you essentially get like 50 times or more the maximum intended bonus of Viscous Shield. Instead of getting 33.3% increased damage for full life as barrier, you can get upwards of 1600% damage increase from this single effect. Literally, it makes you do about 16 times as much damage than it is intended to do, and so this is the biggest major culprit here for why Spiritborn does what it does. The next big bug, though, is the Jaguar primary Spirit Hall choice, and mostly just the way that it double dips with pretty much every non-specific damage increase that you have equipped. This does a bonus hit on an enemy after you hit them 15 times with direct damage, and this is coded to do 15% of the damage that you did to that enemy in the last half of a second. They did manage to make this not stack with itself, so you can't make it scale literally infinitely. That was a smart thing to avoid, but what it does do is take a whole load of damage modifiers into account that it shouldn't. It makes them double dip. Viscous Shield damage buff applies to the damage that you do in general in the first place, but then Jaguar's primary Spirit Hall, which is calculated off of that initial damage, is then also boosted by the Viscous Shield multiplier. So you are doing up to 16 times the base damage you should be to begin with, but then the Jaguar Spirit Hall is then also 16 times more damage than it should be, even with that included, specifically just because of this interaction. It also applies things like Mystic Circles and the Plains Power upgrade twice, essentially. Literally anything that is non-conditional and is a damage increase for Spiritborn will apply to your base damage, and then also to the Jaguar pop, which is a big double dip. And that's why the white numbered pops for Spiritborn are the biggest numbers you will see in Spiritborn builds, even if they are built to be like 100% critical hit and overpower based, because the white numbers are the Jaguar Spirit Hall pops, and they can't crit, they can't overpower, but they still do the damage they do regardless because of these double dipping effects. The next main bug with the class then is the redirected force aspect. This increases your critical damage multiplier dependent on how much block chance you have. This is intended to not count block chance that you get over 100%, as 100% block chance should be the limit of block chance, but the aspect counts all sources of block even past that, and essentially makes any critical hit do 3, 4, even 5 times the damage it is supposed to do based on the rest of your setup. Then the last main one is a masterworking issue with the maximum resolve stacks bonus affix. Specifically, this is scaling way higher than intended. You have to temper this onto gear first, at which point the initial maximum is +2 bonus maximum resolve stacks, but then if you get full masterworking bonuses on it, it scales all the way to 11 bonus resolve stacks, which is a massive amount, even if you do have to triple hit to get there. So essentially, people just aren't intended to have this get too high. It does not scale the way that it's supposed to. You'll see this if you do any other tempering affix that gives +2 to something and then you scale it up. It won't go to +11, so players just have way more resolve stacks than they're supposed to right now, which then also funnels into the interdiction aspect that gives block chance per resolve stack to then further boost the redirected force aspect, and then also the colossal paragon glyph, which gives increased damage per resolve stack that you have. And worth noting, this glyph's bonus also double dips for Jaguar primary Spirit Hall. That pretty much just makes the main sort of combo of bugs that the class has going on right now. Maximum life stacking for Viscous Shield, Jaguar primary Spirit Hall, and then mixing the highest amount of powerful non-conditional damage boost possible to double dip into all of that. That pretty much does it for today, and everyone, a recap of what happened on the stream itself for Spiritborn specifically, what the actual effects of this are going to be, and then what the bugs actually are, especially now that we know that they plan to stay unfixed for another couple of months, honestly. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.